Hello children, in my last video we have seen the first part of the chapter, the best Christmas present in the world. And today we are going to read the second part of the same chapter, the best Christmas present in the world. So today I will be explaining the second part and you will go with me, you will listen and you will try to understand it. Second part, here I'll read the chapter. Dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of mind because something wonderful has just happened that I must tell you about at once. We were all standing in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was crisp and quiet all about. As beautiful a morning as I have ever seen. As cold and frosty as a Christmas morning should be. So here Jim McPherson is writing the letter to his wife describing the morning of Christmas. It was quite quiet, means it was silent everywhere, and it was winter season. You know, Christmas falls in the December month, 25th date. Okay, so it is quite means everywhere quiet, snowfall may be there. It's a very cold morning, frosty morning. It was second para. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the truth I am ashamed to say is that Fritz began it. That means the person, Jim McPherson, is telling that we started to make peace with each other. We wanted to stop fight and we wanted to celebrate the Christmas Eve. So here he is telling we did not start this, but the Fritz means here it is given a name for a German soldier. So a common German name. So here Fritz are the German people. So first someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. What is trenches? Here it is the meaning. Long deep ditches in the ground where soldiers hide from the enemy. So they were still in the trenches, and first someone saw that white flag was waving from the trenches opposite side. Then they were calling out to us from across no man's land. Here no man's land means border of that area. So happy Christmas, Tommy, happy Christmas. When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, same to you, Fritz, same to you. So Tommy is a common English name used here to refer to British soldiers. So Tommy are British soldiers. So the German soldiers, they were shouting and wishing them happy Christmas, Tommy, happy Christmas. And they were surprised, means the British were surprised to Britishers. They were surprised to see that they were making peace. They were wishing each other. Same to you, Fritz. They were also shouting back. I thought that would be that. So Jim McPherson thought that it will end here only. Means the celebration will finish here only. They will wish each other and the event will finish here. We all did. They were wishing each other. But then suddenly one of them was up there in his great coat and waving a white flag. Don't stop, don't shoot, lads, someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fritz up on the parapet, and another. Keep your heads down, I told the man. It's a trick, but it wasn't. So these two countries' soldiers, they were wishing each other, and they saw that the German soldiers, they were wearing grey coat. Great coat means overcoat. and they were waving white flag. Means they wanted to, white flag means they wanted to make peace. They did not want war. They wanted peace. And so, but these British soldiers, they were thinking that it was a trick. Actually, Jim McPherson was thinking that it was a trick. They may shoot them, but it wasn't a trick. They really wanted to make peace. Next para. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have snaps. We have sausage. We meet you. Yes? So, the Germans, one German was waving bottle on his head and wishing to them, and he is telling, it is Christmas Day, Tommy. We have snaps. Snaps means here a German drink made from grain. We have drink, we have sausage, and let's meet each other and we will celebrate. He said like that. By this time, there were dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land, and not a rifle between them. And after that, so they were all together coming to the no man's land, means a border, to meet them. Little Private Morris was the first up. Come on, boys, what are we waiting for? So here, the British people, they were British soldiers, they were thinking, is it correct to go to wish them or not? They were hesitating. But one person, Morris, got up and he said, why we are waiting for? Let's go to them. And then there was no stopping them. And nobody was stopping anyone. I was the officer. Jim McPherson was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. So it was the duty of the officer, Jim McPherson's duty, to stop them because they were enemy to each other. But he could not. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another, grey coats, khaki coats, meeting in the middle. So he saw, Jim McPherson saw, both the sides, soldiers were coming, wearing the khaki coats and grey coats. Grey coats, German soldiers were wearing, and British soldiers were wearing khaki coats. So they met with each other in no man's land. And I was one of them. So Jim McPherson also went there. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. See here, they were in the middle of the war, and that day they forgot the war and they were making peace. They were celebrating Christmas. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings as I looked into the eyes of the French officer who approached me, hand outstretched. Outstretched means he was taking out his arm and stretching towards Jim. Hans-Ulf, he said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. So the French officer was coming towards Jim McPherson and stretching his arms and shaking his hand and introducing him as Hans-Ulf. He said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. Gripping means holding tightly, warmly and holding it. Means by catching it very nicely, he is telling, my name is Hans-Ulf. I am from Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. So he introduced himself as cello. He was playing cello in the orchestra. Or cello means musical instrument like a large violin. So they were introducing each other. Captain Jim McPherson, I replied. Now it was the turn to give the introduction. So Jim said, Captain Jim McPherson, I replied. And a happy Christmas to you too. I am a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. So he's telling that I was a school teacher from Dorset. Oh, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. So, Hansel was telling that I know Dorset very well. We shared my ram ration and his excellent sausage. So, they were exchanging their eatable things. Jim McPherson offered his ram to him and the Hansel offered sausage to Jim. And we talked, and they were talking about many things. Connie, how we talked. He spoke almost perfect English, but it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset. So Hansel was talking very nicely in English, perfect English, but he had never been in Dorset, never even been to England. He had never come to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school. From school only, he learned everything about England. And from reading books in English, he learned English language from reading books. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book, Far from the Madding Crowd. So out there in no man's land, we talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. So they were talking about lots of things. He had a wife and one son, born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there were huddles of khaki and grey everywhere. All over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. So Jim McPherson saw the soldiers were mixing together and they were enjoying. Hansel and I shared what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake, Connie. So Connie had sent a Christmas cake for Jim McPherson, and in that day they were enjoying the cake, and whatever was left they were eating together. He thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. Marzipan means a sweet covering on a cake made from sugar, eggs and almonds. So he thought the marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. He was telling, Hansel was telling Jim McPherson that it is a very tasty cake. Actually, the marzipan he liked very much. I agreed. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. So now they were talking about many things and they were agreeing in everything. And it is strange that they are now enemy. But they forgot about this. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. So it was a best Christmas party for them because they were enjoying. Then someone, I don't know who, brought out a football. Greatcoats were dumped in piles to make goalposts. And the next thing we knew, it was Tommy against Fritz out in the middle of no man's land. Hansel and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the cold as much as anything. So the two officers were there standing and watching the soldiers playing football. Someone brought football and they started playing it. The goalposts were not there, so they took out their greatcoats, their overcoats they took out and made goalposts. They dumped and made pile of it and they were making it goalpost, both the sides, and they were playing football. There was a moment when I noticed our breaths mingling in the air between us. So Jim McPherson saw that they were talking to each other, and the air, he noticed that breaths the coming out, and it is mingling, means mixing in the air, and they were one. He saw it too and smiled, and Hansel also saw it and he was smiling. Jim McPherson, he said after a while, I think this is how we should resolve this war. A football match. No one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. So Hansel said, Jim McPherson said, war is the not solution. So we must resolve it through football match. Means it will be the better idea to play match, and whoever wins they will win the war. Means it is a good idea. So in the match nobody will die, and no wives will become widows, no children will become orphan, because nobody will die in football match. In the next para, I would prefer cricket. So Jim McPherson told that I would prefer cricket, not football. I told him. Then we Tommies could be sure of winning, probably. So British, Tommies means British. The British will prefer to play cricket, and they will win the game. So we laughed at that, and together we watched the game. Sad to say, Connie preached on 2-1, but as Hansel generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. But he's telling in the letter, Connie, we did not win, Fritz won the game. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished, the snaps and the ram and the sausage had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. So the time came, and they were playing games, and whatever eatable things were there, snaps, the drink, the ram, the sausage, everything ran out means finished, and we knew it was all over means everything was over. I wished Hans well and told him I hoped he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we could all go home. So Jim McPherson told Hansel that I hope that the war will finish soon and he would go home to see his family again. I think that it is what every soldier wants. On both sides, Hansel said, "Take care, Jim McPherson. I shall never forget this moment, nor you." So Hansel said that every soldier wants that the war will finish and they will go home and meet their family members. So they wished each other and they said that we will never forget this moment which we celebrated together. He saluted and walked away from me slowly. Unwillingly, I felt. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. So after wishing each other, they were going back to their trenches. So the day was over. It was evening, so they were going back to their trenches. Unwillingly means they did not want to part. They did not want to separate with each other, but what to do? They were now going. So that night, back in our dugouts. Dugouts means a shelter for soldiers made by digging a hole in the ground and covering it like trenches only. So we heard them singing a carol and singing it quite beautifully. So from their trenches they can hear the German, the Tommies, they heard that Fritz were singing carols. Carols means Christmas song. They were singing very beautifully. It was Still Night, means Silent Night. It's a song, Christmas carol. So our boys gave them a rousing chorus of While Shepherds Watch. This is also a Christmas carol. So they were shouting and singing in loud voice. One time the preach they were singing, and next time the Tommies were singing. So they were exchanging the song like we do in Antaksri, like that they were playing, means singing songs and playing. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all fell silent. So after some times they all slept, everywhere silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I live. So Jim McPherson is telling in the letter there, it's a wonderful time for him and he will never forget this moment. See you next. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. Long means eagerly want, the desire. We shall be together again soon, I am sure of it. So, in the last, he is writing that, telling to Connie that, dearest Connie, by Christmas, next Christmas, I'll be with you. I'll be coming home very soon in the next Christmas and we'll be together. And this will become a memory for me. The war will be a memory, terrible memory for me. So this is the second part of this chapter, children.